Hello everyone, welcome to the People's Bureau. Today I want to talk about state capitalism and a worrying path I see the Trump administration and this America First agenda taking us down, taking us away from a free market capitalist society. And so state capitalism, I think, could loosely be described as kind of the government taking an active role at directing private industry towards, what they see as national goals, or with the America First agenda, it's a lot of national security implications. The Trump administration is kind of freaking me out a little bit with what they're doing in the economy, but we'll get into some specifics here, taking the Intel stake, the golden share, the export licenses, etc. This is an active direction of private industry. And I think it's chilling, it's bad for the economy, and quite frankly, it's a dangerous precedent. And there's something about J.D. Vance. I think Trump is a transactional actor. And so he sees state capitalism as, he sees all this money going out from the federal government in the form of grants. And he says, what are we getting for that? And he's not realizing all the third and fourth order consequences of having a vibrant society that funds things like science, etc. And I think a guy like J.D. Vance is more of I know better, and he thinks that he could direct private industry better than private industry directs itself, and he sees all this waste in our capitalist society, and he's like, why can't we emulate China? Why can't we decide what's good for the morally good for the people, etc.? And so I think there's two different aspects to this. But the America First economic policy is damaging to American exceptionalism, just flat out. And so let's get into some examples of what they're actually doing. And so the first one here is Intel. Federal government got some equity stake worth $11 billion in Intel. And when I first read that, I'm like, did they buy it? Did Intel give it to them? What is it? How does it actually work? And so I'm going to break it down for you. So $5.7 billion was awarded but not paid to Intel from the CHIPS Act, from Biden's CHIPS Act. 3.2 was awarded specifically for the Secure Enclave program. And I had to look this up, but the Secure Enclave program comes from the CHIPS Act, and it's kind of specifically meant to enhance domestic semiconductor production in a domestic in a national security sense. And then another $2.2 billion was from the CHIPS Act that was paid. And so basically this $11 billion is from the CHIPS Act, from Biden's CHIPS Act, that Trump said, why are we giving Intel $11 billion? We need something for it. And so they probably demanded this stake from them, not realizing the implications of the federal government owning an equity stake in a private company. This would have set Republicans' hairs on fire 10 years ago, or before, 20 years ago. They would have said this is a socialist hellscape. We're living in Havana, Cuba with this. And here we go. The Trump administration says we deserve a 10% stake, or we deserve a stake in Intel because we gave you $11 billion, not knowing that Intel producing domestic semiconductors is good for the country. Worrying sign. Almost a nationalizing vibe to it. Next is the golden share. This is the veto power awarded to the executive branch for approving the U.S. Nippon Steel merger. The government was given a golden share. This share basically says that Nippon Steel has to consult the federal government if it's going to make any changes to the business, financing, investment, plant property, stuff like that. If they move a plant somewhere, it all has to be approved by the federal government. Worrying, to say the least. The availability of corruption is insane with this. I mean, imagine if they want to move a plant to Colorado, and Colorado's a blue state, so it gets rejected because the Trump admin has the golden share. I mean, the levels of corruption that could come from this is mind-boggling. Not to belabor the point, but what are we doing? What is the point of this? Why is the administration doing this? Next is the Pentagon taking a 15% stake in MP Materials. MP Materials is a rare earth mining company. And this is like another one that it's weird because why is the Pentagon taking a equity stake in a mining company? You know, obviously there's national security implications for rare earths, but why not just set up a 15-year or 20-year federal defense contract for this? Why do they need to have a 15% stake in the company? Like, we should not be normalizing the federal government owning equity stakes in U.S. companies. That's not good. The federal government should be defining policy, should be creating regulations. They should not be, how do you regulate a company that you own a stake in? You know? Like, how can the federal government regulate Intel when the regulation has to get passed by Congress and that has to get signed by the president, who owns a 15% stake in it? It just makes no sense. Next is the export license that was given to NVIDIA and AMD for any business that they do with China and their high-end chips. This one I think is, so all of these I think might be illegal, but this one I think is like definitely illegal. And so I'm not sure about the longevity of this export license. It just feels like extortion. It feels like there's demand for NVIDIA chips, so the Trump administration can just do it. You know, NVIDIA can pay it. AMD can pay it. They get access to the Chinese market, which they didn't have before with their high-end chips. And so why not just pay the government 15% for the ability to do this? Is this in America's best interests? Do we want China to have access to H20 chips? Now, obviously, NVIDIA says that they're kind of downscaled. But do we want them to have access? Does it really matter if they have access? Because if it really matters, then this is probably not good. And if it doesn't really matter, then this is also not good. Because why is the government taking a 15% extortion fee from it? It just makes no sense. It just adds so much weird bureaucracy and corruption, that the possible corruption that could come from this. It's anti-American, quite frankly. Like, what are we doing? And so lastly, I want to talk about the Cracker Barrel situation. I think this is a little bit less important than the others because it doesn't really deal with any financial implications or national security. But the idea that the federal government is having a say in what the civil discourse is about a brand's rebrand, that's where we are right now. Like, can you imagine any other prior administration saying that they disagree with the rebranding or this is a woke rebrand? It's like, let the court of public opinion sort this out. Let Cracker Barrel rebrand, and then if the people throw a hissy fit and they don't like it, then they change the rebrand. Like, that's fine. Let it all play out in the court of public opinion. Why does the federal government have to get involved? Why do they have, like, obviously they didn't really get directly involved. Why did they have to say anything? Like, what is the point of this? Why are they doing this? It doesn't need to be this way. That's the whole point of this video is, like, it doesn't need to be this way. It doesn't have to be like this. Like, what is the federal government, what is the Trump administration doing? Like, why are they doing this to us? It doesn't have to be like this. It just is so stupid. It's so politics. It's so social issues, and it's just, it gets everyone riled up for no freaking reason. It doesn't have to be like this. So that's kind of my little rant about the direction we're going in the new economic model of state capitalism. It really just kind of feels like Germany in the 1930s a little bit. That's kind of it for me, guys. I will catch you again in the next one. Bye.